The Dolphin Story. My dad was extremely hyperbolic. With him, everything was always the best this and the greatest that, especially with something he did. If asked, I'm sure he would admit to being the greatest user of hyperbole that ever lived. He routinely claimed to be the best short-order cook in the world. He said that what he did in the kitchen stymied great chefs because it was too fast and all made to order, whereas chefs dealt with the workload by doing way more prep. There's this thing called a caterpillar. Never mind. The point is that Dad had been claiming to serve the world's best French toast since about 1992. At the same time, Steve had his own restaurant around the corner at the Marta Cortez that was named after my dad. Long story, we'll get around to it later. Steve and Dad used the same menu, designed by Dad, so Dad also claimed to have the world's best French toast. So Randy Mosley asked Steve, the menu says you guys got the world's best French toast, and I was just at your dad's place, and he claims to have the world's best French toast too. How can it be that both of you guys have the world's best French toast? That's easy, because Dad's a lying sack of shit. Dad also claimed to be the best liar in the world, and I gotta say, he was a very, very naturally gifted bullshitter. He was so good at it that more than once I heard him telling different people this. I'm such a good liar that I'm telling you that I'm going to tell you a lie, that I'm going to tell you that lie, and you'll believe it anyway. People would kind of chuckle and roll their eyes skeptically, and then he would immediately launch into the Dolphin Story. The Dolphin Story is actually based on something that really happened to us. And of course, that's the key to lying successfully, is don't stray too far from the truth. What happened was in 1972 in San Felipe, Baja California, me, Steve, Mom, and Dad. I'll try and tell it chronologically. What I remember is a really long drive through a hot desert, along a straight, narrow road. It was so hot that off in the distance it looked like there was water on the road, which I think is the basis for all mirages, right? The far-off water that never seems to get any closer. There were dust devils to the left and the right. They looked like little tornadoes to me at 5 years old. Driving down the road, we drove up behind a Mexican woman, slowly driving a pickup truck with two small children with her in the cab. At some point, the truck had gotten a flat tire, and I guess she'd been driving for a while on the flat because the tire was in shreds and she was just basically driving on the rim. Neither me nor Mom or Steve spoke any Spanish, and Dad only spoke a tiny bit, but she seemed to be okay, and there was nothing we could do for her, so we moved on. In the market in San Felipe, Dad taught me about how carbonated drinks under pressure don't freeze in the freezer, but turn into slushes when you open them. That was cool and refreshing in the obscenely hot Baja California summer. Also, I remember the shopkeeper kicking an old female dog with her puppies out of the store. I mean, literally kicking her out, like with his foot. That made me very sad. I always had a lot of empathy for animals, so I bawled. I cried and cried about the shopkeeper being mean to the poor dog. I think it kind of weirded out my parents, as it was yet another wrinkle in my distinct, hyper-aware and sensitive to the world around me emerging personality. Of course, Mom comforted me. In San Felipe, in the hotels, where I learned that you never drink the tap water in Mexico. So we're on the beach eating tamales, and this old lady vendor has sold us. In my experience, real Mexican tamales always have an olive in every tamale, so you have to watch out for the olive pit. That day was the first time I experienced that. Mom and Dad were drinking Carta Blanca beer. There's a little indentation on the bottom of each Carta Blanca so you can use it to open the next Carta Blanca. Clever Mexican mechanical engineering. Steve wanted to explore the beach. Mom says, take your brother. Steve kind of bitches, but reluctantly agrees. I stick my tongue out at Steve. Well, come on, Benny. That's what I was called by pretty much everybody at that time, except for anybody from school, students and teachers, who all called me Spencer, because that's what it said on the records. Everyone else called me Benny, but I didn't care for it. As far as I was concerned, along with Dad and Grandpa, I was Spencer 2, or rather, Spencer 3. So Steve and I follow the beach north until we get to this little tide pool. The tide has gone out enough that the pool has become landlocked, and we hear this squeaking and chirping coming from the ocean. So we turn to see 3 or 4 dolphins, and they're squeaking and chirping a lot, like they're trying to get our attention or something. We have no idea what they're going on about, but they're making a lot of noise. So Steve and I are looking around trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And then I notice there's a little tiny me-sized dolphin in the tide pool, and he can't get out. He's stuck away from his dolphin family behind a sandbar, and the pool isn't very deep. It's getting late in the afternoon. Steve mentions, I think the water's going out. I ask, what does that mean? He says, when it gets late in the day, the tide goes out. The ocean lowers. I ask, what's going to happen to the baby dolphin? Steve has a grimace look on his face. He's thinking, looking back and forth at the pot of dolphins to the baby. Finally, he says, go get Dad. I run back almost in a panic. Dad, we need you. Come out. There's a baby dolphin and he's going to drown. Tears are running down my face. I'm practically in a panic. Hold on, calm down. Where's your brother? He's over there watching the dolphin. Watching the dolphin? What dolphin? Calm down. What happened? There's a baby dolphin and he's trapped in a little pool and the water's going out and the mom and dad dolphins are crying and need our help. Come on. Come help the baby dolphin. Please, Dad, before he drowns. The baby dolphin's going to drown. Dad isn't exactly sure what's going on, but both he and Mom can see I'm serious. Ah, Jesus. Julie? Come on, let's check it out. Come on, Mom, you come too. All three of us head back and find Steve watching the pod and the babies squeak and chirp back and forth. The water of the tide pool is lower. Can't be much more than 7 or 8 inches of water at this point. The water's almost gone, Dad, says Steve. He's going to drown, says I. Well, Spencer, what are you going to do? Asked my mom to my dad. Jesus, Julie, what do you expect me to do? Responds my dad to my mom. Save him, Dad, he's just a baby, says I, tears streaming down my face. Steve says, you can do this, Dad. But Dad is skeptical. He did not expect this. He kind of has a furrowed brow as he tries to figure out what to do. He asks Mom, well, what do you think? Spencer, you can do anything you put your mind to. Mom had a lot of faith in Dad's competence. I'm tugging on him. Mom and Steve are looking at him, waiting for him to make some sort of decision. Finally says, okay, I guess. Let's save the baby dolphin. I shriek, yay! Steve does a little fist pump. Yes! Mom smiles. She exudes pride for the three of us. She always had way more pride about us than she ever had for herself. Dad to Mom, here, hold my beer. And he walks into the lowering tide pool slowly, towards the distressed, small, intelligent animal he didn't know, with a pod of dolphins squeaking and chirping off to the right in the ocean. Dad gets close to the animal. He knows he's in a distressing situation and recognizes the help. Dad slowly lowers down and gently, in one smooth move, slides both arms under the baby dolphin and smoothly pulls his arms up and back and stands, cradling the baby dolphin in his arms. The baby dolphin relaxes, which surprised Dad. Then is only a matter of walking about 15 feet over to the edge of Sea Cortez, kneeling down and releasing the baby into the ocean. And then they were all gone, and it was quiet. We all kind of looked at each other. Steve says, that was cool. Mom says, good work, Spencer. I knew you could do it. Dad had a strange look of shock and pride and confusion. It's hard to pinpoint. I hug his leg. Thanks, Dad. He picks me up and kisses me on the forehead. What do you say we all go get some dinner? That sounds like a great idea, says Mom. We all head down the beach to get something to eat. On the way down the beach, Dad just throws out, San Felipe is known for its great dolphin steaks. Shut up, Dad, says Steve. Here's what Dad had to say after the fact about the baby dolphin rescue. Julie and the kids were saying baby dolphin, baby dolphin, baby dolphin. All I saw was a 30 pounds of writhing animal with 2 rows of sharp gnashing teeth. Once I got my arms underneath it, it completely surprised me. I guess he knew he was in danger, and I was there to help because he completely relaxed in my arms. What took me by surprise is that he was warm and that he wasn't slimy. I don't know, I was expecting him to be slimy, but he was kind of like suede. It was cool. The coolest part was the next day when we rented a ponga to take up one of the neighboring islands for a picnic. It was a half-hour boat ride, but about 5 minutes into it, there had to be a dozen dolphins, and they were riding along with us, and they're all squeaking and chirping, and they started jumping out of the water. All of them. They literally put on a show for us. We were all agape. We couldn't believe it. They knew who we were, and they were thanking us. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And then he continued. And then about 100 yards in front of us, 3 UFOs descended from the sky and waited for us on the beach. We finally got there. They shook our hands, offered us their friendship, and took us all to Alpha Centauri, where we lived out the rest of our lives in peace and harmony. And that's a story I told you that I was going to tell you that was a lie. Never happened. Then he'd add, I don't know. There's something about dolphins that makes people want to believe.